We are here today at High Times in Costa Mesa, and I'm really excited. Hey, welcome to Locals Only. I'm Eric Hale, and if you don't know me, I'm the guy that founded Local Magazine 14 years ago in my garage. It's been my job for all those years to tell you the coolest places to eat in all of Southern California, fun things to do so you have date nights that aren't boring, and we've talked to some really interesting people. Now we have a podcast, and we're lucky enough to call this Mercedes-Benz EQE all-electric sedan, courtesy of Fletcher Jones Motorcars in Newport Beach, our mobile podcast studio. So sit back, buckle up, and enjoy the conversation. Welcome to Locals Only. Today, we're with Chuck and Harold. They're from High Time in Costa Mesa. It's a wine and spirit store that's been there since 1957. And if you live in Orange County, or probably within the sound of my voice, you've either been or heard of it. But if you haven't, we're going to get a chance today to reminisce to some of their old times growing up around this area. So this is going to be a super fun time. They're coming to the car now. They're just going to jump in. All right, guys, jump in the car. Here we are. Welcome to the studio.
Hey.
How's it look?
Wow. We're in the
You got all these speakers and
Got everything. Microphones,
You got cigars down there?
cigars.
Huh?
But you need it. Maybe we should use some cigars. You guys can buckle up, and we're going to drive around. So you just tell me where to head first.
Our pond. This was a fishing pond here. We hunted bullfrogs right there.
So you're saying right here at High Times in Costa Mesa, right off 17th Street, you guys used to go hunt bullfrogs. There was a pond here.
Yeah, and ducks would land there. And we had another pond over here. And one day, there was a goose flying around up there. He circled over, and I gave him the and he circled over, and my brother ran in our little shack we lived in behind the garage and got his shotgun. Bam! Here come a goose down. We had a goose dinner.
So you were born. What year were you born in?
1930 in Juneau, Alaska.
turn right here.
So you would say in 1930 in Juneau, Alaska. So how old were you when you got that goose?
Oh, well, I was 15 years old or something.
So about 1945.
Yeah, this was all bare fields all around us here.
Everything, everywhere we're looking, this was all
Yeah,
bare fields.
Bare fields.
Yeah.
Nothing here. And we want to go down this way.
Yeah, let's go down. We can see the front of the school over here.
It was built in the 1930s. It had a tower up there.
Yeah.
They built a oil derrick right on the end of the bluff here looking the Coast Highway.
Yeah.
And no oil. And so that tower was there, and people used to climb it up. And one time, a kid took a parachute up there when the wind was blowing this way, and he jumped off that oil, and that's not very high. But he must have been a smart kid. He knew not to jump during the wind, and this wind was going this way, or he would have tangled up in the. This is we'll turn around.
Yeah, we'll turn and we'll head back to where Fritz is. You said, right?
We used to have a trap line out across the end of here, overlooking the bay. But we kept catching skunks, so we gave that up.
You want to go down to where the original store was?
Yeah, let's look at that. That was on 17th and Irvine, the original High Times.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll drive right over there. So tell me a little bit about when you grew up. I know you grew up in Juneau, Alaska. How was that growing up?
It was dangerous. Fritz was on the fishing boat when he was 6 years old, pulling in halibut and salmon. The halibut in those days was up to 100, 150 pounds. You'd catch those all the time.
On the left here is the old High Time building.
Yeah, so it was right here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where La Cave is, I guess that's where you said the basement was, right?
Downstairs.
Was that there when you were here, or was that?
No, this was my two brothers helped the builder build this before we moved from Santa Ana, the license.
And this is the one that people love so much that it was hard for you when you moved to the new place. They didn't want to come down the street to the new High Times.
And the farm building was right there. They packed yams. And the field across the street, triangle here, it was nice sandy soil. So this farmer, McVeigh, he came from Arkansas. He had a land grant signed by USDA grant, and he started the yam farm right there in that field.
So on the corner of 17th and Irvine right there, catty corner from where High Times was a yam field where people would get yams in there.
The two daughters worked planting them, and they called them the Yam Girls. And they were going to Harbor, and Fritz, my brother, met one of them and married one of them. And
so Fritz married a yam girl.
Yeah. And then a Marine married the other one, and then the father-in-law put him in charge of it, and he kept raising our rent. So we're going to get out of that rent, and we moved up there and bought that old telephone.
That's
building.
Great. Oh, so yeah, the building that High Times is in now was who owned it before you?
A group of builders and buyers that bought it, and then Harold right here talked him out of it and got it for us for High Time to move to.
That's great. And
he was pretty clever. He bought all properties where another store was out on Newport Boulevard, and he bought property where he lives over there. And all of us got into real estate for some reason. I mean, I used to think $10 bill was $1,000.
Yeah.
When I first got married.
Can you tell me about when and anybody can chime on this, I'd love to hear about when you were going to Cuba, because there was the story you told me where you left and you went under the Golden Gate Bridge, and it wasn't even completed yet.
No, we took a ferry across.
Okay.
Yeah, down, and then went inland to the Central Valley. Hot. We never knew it was so hot, and ended up driving in a little bakery truck with 6 people in it. And my mother cooked on a single burner, and we got food from the grocery store every way. It took 2 months to get to Florida, and then we took a little ship over to Cuba, and then took a little boat to Island of Pines. And we got to this little Island of Pines, and there's nothing there but bare fields, abandoned houses, and there wasn't even a toilet there. We picked out a best-looking little shack, and all lived in that shack. And every time it rained, we'd run outside in the rain with a bar of soap and wash.
Oh, wow.
And we did that for 2 years. And finally, we started the first garage sale. When we left there, we had all the Cubans come around, and they'd come in and they were picking up everything and walking out. And finally, my dad said, "Wow, one at a time in this garage sale." And that was
so you lived there for 2 years. Was there a reason you moved all the way to Cuba?
To a health colony.
To a health colony.
And
the Isle of Pines was a health colony, and there was going to be a place where you could get healthy, but you got there and there wasn't much there.
A bare field and no vegetables, nothing.
Oh, so was it a scam then, I guess?
It was a scam, yeah.
It was a scam. So you ended up there for 2 years, and then when you came back, how did you get back from Cuba and the Isle of Pines?
Well, Dad was kind of smart. I guess he saved his little low van, and the guy used it for a doghouse, and we all jumped in and got covered with fleas. And so we all had to get out and get undressed, and then we started back through Texas again.
So you drove all the way back?
But not up to the valley. This time we went on the coast. And there was only a 2-lane road. And when we got back to Washington, we decided, well, Mom's going to go to Hawaii now.
You were driving back all the way from Florida, got through Washington on your way back to Alaska, and your mom decided, I don't want to go to Alaska, let's go to Hawaii.
Yeah, so he flew over there, or got on a tramp steamer, and bought a boat, and lived on a hill in a house. And then we took a train from Washington, the rest of the family got to San Pedro on a tramp steamer to go over there. And on the way down, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And he was stuck there, and we were stuck in San Pedro in a 1-room hotel, 6 people. And
oh, no.
So then we had no place to go. Mom got a hold of a real estate lady, and she's going to take us up to Santa Ana, find a cheap house. No cheap houses there. We went to Corona. Still too high. We went to Riverside, still too high. And we got out to Beaumont, California in the desert and found a little 1-bedroom house for 6 people. and we had 5 acres of peaches. We grew peaches for 2 years, learned all about that, and cherries out there. And then Dad was finally able to get out of out of Hawaii. And then we moved he found a house in Newport Harbor, the best thing he ever bought, because that land got real expensive. And we all got a 1/4 acre. 3 boys and 1 girl.
Here in Newport.
And we're in Costa Mesa, right up in the hill there, where you see that hospital.
Yeah.
And so that 1 acre split up 4 ways, and we all got into real estate, and everybody,
how much was that 1 acre that your dad
$2,000.
1 acre was $2,000.
Right up in this hill here.
And then he split it with you 4 ways, so you each got a 1/4 acre.
Yeah.
So about $500 each, and that's what got you moving into real estate.
Everybody got millions of dollars.
I don't know if you can get a 1/4 acre anymore in Newport for $500.
I get my chemotherapy right here for my cancer.
Oh, that's so you're right now. You have a type of cancer that you're dealing with.
Yeah, bone marrow cancer.
So you're going there for your treatment right here.
The doctor gave me 4 years to live. He said, I got 2 people to live 5 years. And so I used 2 of them up already. There's where we bought this house right here. When we moved, it was just a little shack there.
This one here.
And Dad paid $2,000 for that. And then he bought this other place up here in Costa Mesa. This is Newport right here.
Well, even that $2,000 was still probably a pretty good penny back then too, though,
yeah,
right? It wasn't easy just to come across.
There was motels here at that time.
Well, I live right over here now. This is where I live.
Well, Harold lives right up here.
Harold, you live here now?
Go straight and we'll go by my house.
We're practically neighbors.
Wow.
Yeah, we're
you
really
ever come
neighbors.
to our
the chili cook-off?
Chili
cook-off. I've been to the chili cook-off a few times. I love that.
That's wild, isn't it?
That's such a good time.
You're like a regular neighbor. I mean.
Oh yeah. I mean, I try not to buy wine every week, but I usually do a couple bottles.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it there. You're one of my favorite places. Oh, it's a treasure. The place that you guys built there.
One kid you were talking to, I said you're the boss. Josh. Well, he went out in the parking lot when everybody was cleared out, and we had these outdoor toilets there, and he was checking to see if everybody was gone, and there was a guy still sitting on the toilet. And so he shook the thing, and the guy wouldn't move. He went and got a bucket of water and climbed up and dumped it in there. Here come a guy running out of there, pulling up his pants. I could see the guy. He was still running down the street trying to get his pants on.
He was the guy that they poured water on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Those trees when we moved here were about 6 feet tall.
Wait, these palm trees. These palm trees right here were 6 feet tall when you moved here.
And we built a little shack alongside our garage down there, and we took those palm trees and put them up for our wall.
So when you lived there, you used palm fronds for a wall? Is that what you're saying?
Our wood wall.
Oh my goodness.
We built a little shack along the wall of the garage, and it was about 6 feet wide and had 4 bunks in it, and that's where us kids slept.
Here in Newport?
Growing up, yeah.
When you're in Newport, you slept...
On the street right here.
Right here, in Costa Mesa, you slept under palm fronds, and then you had 4 bunks, and it was outside.
Yeah, outside.
Well, what about when it rained, or if it was hot or cold? What'd you do?
Well, we had a tin roof on an angle hooked to the garage, and cold. We took turns running in the house and getting in this bathtub, and no shower.
Well, let me ask you, so, High Times, like we talked about, has been a really big deal for this community. And I think people are very interested in the stories, and it's so fun to hear about, Juneau, and it's fun to hear about Cuba, and it's fun to hear about all that. But
Hawaii,
tell me a little bit about this store, what it's meant to your family. Why don't you chime in and tell me?
I have a good idea. The genesis was quite unusual how we got in the fine wine business, because originally the store was only about 900 square feet.
Right.
It was just a convenience liquor store.
All right. I think we're going to take this inside for a second.
Yeah, we need this.
We're at world famous High Times in Costa Mesa. Let's go inside and check it out.
We're on the air?
We're on the air. We're going to go check it out.
Oh, okay.
Even if you've been to High Times before, you can't understand how big it is until you get a tour from these two.
Well, I'm Harold Hanson. I worked here for 40 years in a long run. I'm 84. Chuck Hanson,
93.
93. Okay. Opened in 1984.
This was like a big barn. How are we ever going to fill this place up? It echoed in here. Oh, this is the main entrance to the cellar.
Okay. So
You look there, you see $1,000 bottles of wine.
over here, the expensive, they're locked up. Dreaming Eagle 2019 Cabernet, and it's 100 points, $10,000 for a 1.5 liter.
You see overhead, you'll see signs of where you're at and what country.
Oldest brother, Franz Hansen, they call him Fritz, and myself, we build all this shelving. They're the real expensive Burgundy.
Now start with A, and this is Z, Zinfandel, down this end right here. Things have changed.
We've heard so many wonderful stories about your youth and about starting this great business. So I think one of the common themes that I kept hearing from you today, from both of you, you were always surprised when people liked you. You were surprised when people bought your wine. You're surprised when how many people bought your wine. But there has to be something about the three of you that made people like you so much. It couldn't all just be luck, right? Is that what's the secret sauce to making all these people like you so much? You had to do something. What do you think it is?
I like people, and I hate to see somebody be refused.
The main thing is that we if we didn't have something, we sourced it. And that's how we become known eventually through the years of having more than anyone else that had a store in the area. And we had so many people that when we were on the old corner, they would open a store across the street and they wouldn't last very long because they couldn't compete with our selection.
That's right. Wow.
So let me ask you another question. You had, when we talk about this, you almost had this like Huckleberry Finn kind of growing up from Juneau, Alaska to sleeping under palm fronds to your dad driving you all the way across the country in a baking truck to Cuba to all these different adventures that you had. How did all of that translate into who you are today and the success today? Do you think that's one of the biggest reasons was because of this fantastic upbringing that your parents gave you, this kind of unusual upbringing?
It was sort of hard times growing up, but and after we got in business, it was easy. It was easy to the bringing up of your parents. They didn't call you or anything. We lived out in the woods. 13 miles of town. We never got cultivated by the wrong people, I guess, because we cultivated ourselves.
Well, another thing is that we did everything ourselves when we built the store, and we got advice from salesmen, what they thought we should do, and we listened to them.
Yeah.
And we always source things that people were looking for right away.
We
didn't say, well, you can get it somewhere else.
We used to go to L.A., the big stores, and go out in the back room and see what things they were buying a lot of and stuff.
You're hustling, no matter what it took. You're hustling, trying to figure it out. Well, the last thing I want to do before we take off is just say thank you from myself as a customer.
Well, you're the guy we should thank.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm just really glad I got to come here and talk to you. I know I got a chance to interview you 14 years ago for when I started my company, SoCal. And this has been really fun to get back here and document some of your stories. You're just absolutely super important to this community. And you've been here. You went to high school here and graduated, 70 something years ago, you graduated high school. So, pretty incredible story. I really am glad that you both took the time out of your days to ride around with me. and to be on the Locales Only podcast. And I can't wait for everybody to listen to so
Well,
they can
right.
know more about your story.
I even got to go back to Alaska after 70 years. And the Teamster guy running the Teamsters, he needed some football player, the Fairbanks pro team, semi-pro. So he heard about Bob Berry, the fullback in Newport.
Yeah.
So he was going to go up there. He wanted me to go. He didn't want to go. So I went up there, and I become the quarterback of this semi-pro team up there.
Wait, are you sure you're not 293 years old? How did you do all of this?
Oh, God.
You were on fishing boats and you played professional football and you went to Cuba and you went across the country and you started this store.
I became the
That's a lot, huh?
That's a lot of things.
Anything you did? Were you an astronaut at any point?
Oh, you're a good guy.
I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on with me today. It really means the world to me, guys.
Oh,
Thank you again. I really appreciate
I'm
it.
going to go talk
All right.
to my
Hey,
contract.
that's the
You
best
go
car
do your
I
thing.
ever got
Probably
to
want
ride.
some money.
And it's the best card you ever got to ride in? I'm sure they would love to hear that.
Keep my cars forever, I guess.
Well, this one's pretty state of the art, I would say.
Pretty high tech.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today on Locales Only. I want to give a big thank you to Harold and Chuck for riding along with me. That was so much fun. I want to thank everyone at Straw Hut Media, including our executive producer, Ryan Tillotson, and our editor and producer, Parker J. Hicks. And as always, a big thank you to Fletcher Jones Motor Cars in Newport Beach for providing this beautiful Mercedes-Benz EQE to be our rolling podcast studio. Join us next time on Locales Only, where you can buckle up and go for a ride in our mobile podcast studio with some of the coolest people in Southern California.